Where? Good. I was doubtful if we'll make it because hii kamera ya Timo ilikuwa ina karibu ingia kwa hii kamera nyingine. A very good morning. Hope you're doing well. Sammy is still reeling from victory. The trophy landed yesterday in Europe. He's waiting for the Kenyan chapter so that he can also jump on that bandwagon. He's a blue at heart, but has red blood, so primarily names are Manu, whether he likes it or not. All right. Well, I hope you're having a good week so far. Today is Tuesday, so we're going to go deep. We'll incise. We'll go deep into the marrow, like the word of God. And talk about matters of the heart. Today, it's about... we're talking about shameful secrets. Those things that yani unasikia shame on me kusema, whether you have a high libido na usemi, low libido na usemi, you're addicted to porn, you spent all the money, you've cheated, all of these secrets, how to bring them up, how, when to bring them up. Those are some very important questions. And then what kind of environment? We've talked about that here a lot of times, about having a safe place to talk about these things. And yeah, we'll go ahead and discuss them. To help us with this discussion, we have Bobby Fine, a.k.a. Roberta. Uko aje?
Fine. Mambo.
Yes, uko vipi?
Niko salama, as usual.
Yeah.
Amazing, I'm happy, I feel good. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Uko aje?
Mi niko sawa. Niko salama salmin.
Always happy to see you.
Hata mimi nimefurahi sana check. Uko fresh.
Niko amazing.
Kabisa,
Niko
kabisa.
fresh.
Tumeshukuru sana. Thank you for coming. Cutie, the black beauty.
Tumekuchocha na hii pink.
Man, unajua
Umeamua?
tangu muniambia pink ina look fresh. Nikasema, you know, why not? Let me keep on doing the thing.
Unawakilisha hera, so iko tu sawa, bro. Iko sawa kabisa. Unakaa fiti.
Asante.
Niko poa?
Yes.
Ni sawa tu, our noisy and nosy neighbors.
Nosy sana sana.
Nosy sana sana. Sasa wameingia ligi ya Alex Ferguson.
Yes.
Sasa hatuta breathe.
Yeah.
But either way, you cannot compare. I know it's not football, but you cannot compare Pep and Alex Ferguson, honestly. Bado hajafika. Ni treble tu. Ni treble tu. Sama kaya kijua hivyo. We are the first.
Yes.
First wife.
First. We're up there with Kamala Harris, Barack Obama.
Yeah. And they come in second. But congratulations to Man City, though. Yeah.
There's always a but there. But
Alex Ferguson.
But CJ.
How are you doing?
I'm great. Good to see you. Congratulations. You've shared a very important picture with us. First time you appeared there was 2018 December.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you for consistency. Wacha niwachie hapo.
Kurauka Noah.
Yes.
You've been working up for 4 years.
Yeah, you know, more than 4 years.
Wow.
So, see, Willis is supposed to place a standing order.
Yes. You're going to give in. Willis is a proxy. If you can, Anit. Aya, sasa.
He's both a proxy and an accomplice.
Let me talk like PLO. I have spent the better part of my life fighting for the rights of people. All right.
We believe you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you
do
very much.
personally.
Thank you. Asante sana. All right. Now, interesting conversation. The way, first of all, this came up. Robert, you said there was some activity probably upon the DMs. You noticed like a trend. Tell us about it.
Yeah. Oh, I can talk about it?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. So I hope I used the right word. Winiasi.
Yeah, no, Winnie atakuwa sawa. Hizi ni scientific words you're using.
Okay, so yeah, I was just... so recently I've had a lot more men reach out to me. They want to talk about how maybe they're suffering in their sexual lives. And this is with things like erectile dysfunction or libido issues and stuff like that. So I felt like I wasn't that equipped to give them, you know, the advice because ultimately they need to see a doctor or like a practitioner who's well-versed with these things and can advise better. But I thought it was interesting and I felt very, very encouraged that first of all they felt safe coming to me and you know just talking in my DMs and telling me, you know, this is something you need to bring light on because kuna vitu nyingi sana si go through in relationships that we hold back because we're so scared of judgment, we're scared of being broken up with, and sometimes it's just things we need to speak about so that we can receive the help that we need. And one of these guys is actually a good friend of mine, and he told me that he was very, very scared that he can notice his wife is starting to get tired, and it's like she's starting to withdraw, and it's severing the communication that they have between them. And I felt, oh man.
So, but he hasn't brought it up.
He hasn't brought it up to her. I mean, he can see that she's noticing and he really needs the help. And something else that I really appreciated was that he was very aware. You know, when he came to me, he had he had information. He told me about his eating disorder, about his weight issues, about his drink binging problems, about all these things that could have changiad, or his previous addiction to pornography, and just a whole lot of things. And it was so interesting to read because he knew the things that he's been through and the things he's been doing that might changia to what he's going through now. And also, he just had the courage and the information to, you know, feed me with it and tell me. Actually, I learned so much from him, but something that I was very, very interested in was just the confidence that he was able to reach out and seek help. Even if it wasn't a direct way, it was really good. So I started to think that, and I think that's what's prompting the conversation today. Things that people in relationships go through, whether it's in friendships or romantic relationships, things that people go through behind closed doors that they're scared to talk about, the secrets, you call them. Vitu watu wanapitia, you know, behind closed doors that we need to shed light on so that it's less shameful and more of, oh, pia mimi niko na hiyo shida, tunaweza saidianaje, ama wewe ulila nini, ama na kitu nimerealize about seeking information and trying to be better or trying to improve or when I talk about the things that I'm going through, I always find my tribe. I always find people who relate, people who understand better, people with much more information that are willing to help or assist in some ways. So I think it's good that people are
reaching out,
enough, to talk about what they're going through or how they feel. Right.
I'll ask the same question to QT and to CJ as well, because this, first of all, because it's a dude, it's a guy, ni mjamaa. As Roberta said, he seems to have all the information. Amekuja amefanya research, ameongea, amesema maybe ni kitu na press for the food, ama na press for the drink, and maybe it's my previous addiction. So Ujama, he knows everything. He's done the research. Why is it impossible, or not impossible, why is it hard? Bwana ambi girl child wake.
Willis, unajua, tukihavigizi conversations you have hapa, the last thing I learned from CJ is that a man will be comfortable with a certain person to actually open up. CJ clearly said men go to the counters and, you know, where they feel safe.
Yes.
So a man will open up where he feels safe. Right. So if and that's why I say there's a problem with communication. So if you cannot tell me what the problem is and you're dealing with me, especially bedroom matters. You see, when it comes to bedroom matters, that's a very sensitive topic, Willis, because for a man, I don't know why this weight falls mostly on the man, because it's like, it's the man who has to actually deliver. I don't know why that thing is like that, but too bad for them. But but it's usually...
You have rounded it off to the nearest too bad for them.
But mostly the weight falls on the man that you have to deliver. So for a man, and most of the time you'll find that when there are those issues, when people are breaking up and all those issues, ladies, it's the one thing that you will tell the man. That's the point that you'll communicate to the man. By the way, so, and that really breaks the man. I think hapo ndio nini self confidence ya mwanaume inakam in. So for a man to actually communicate to a woman about that, already anajishuku. As a man, you're already doubting yourself so much. You're like, do I even, get there with her? Do I even satisfy her? Bedroom matters are so sensitive. So men will not usually open up, but you'll find them asking weird questions, chini ya maji, and you'll be like, this guy is not so confident about himself. So it's up to the woman to actually be like, you have to open up and say the things that you like. You see, but now, even women...
Because I noticed the woman is a partner or wife? Or wife. Wife is
withdrawing. Unajua, for women, what I learned, maybe when I couldn't communicate with this. But nowadays you have to communicate, you have to say what you want. Because if you don't, then there'll be a problem. Because now the man will think, okay, we are good. But the woman is suffering. And women, I think, most of the time, ladies don't open up also about sexual matters. Because they'll be like, nikimshow, neza mdent vibaya sana, neza feel vibaya. But actually you'll find out that when you communicate more about the bedroom matters, it becomes now something open. You just tell him, like lightly to ile time, look for a good time to tell him, namwambia, hey, by then napenda hivi na hivi na hivi. You know, you can just share this with your man. But see ati umwambie buda by the hapo unakwanga down. Just you know, it's about the communication. Because bedroom matters zineza dent mtu mentally, psychologically and emotionally, and then you'll find even the man will himself, he will withdraw. He will start going out and looking for other options. So I think the best thing about bedroom matters and sexual communication, it's very, very important, because Willis, if you sit down with women, the stories that we tell, I know Roberta understands what I'm saying, but women,
I've overheard chamas.
Ndo hizo sasa, hizo chama. After we finish the chamas, we have these conversations. Unapata, like all the women,
right.
The last time they, you know, a woman will tell you, by there I am not. So you're wondering, then why are you there? Why are you with him?
What's the situation?
The situation is bad. Situation room ni mbaya sana.
Nyota yao.
Inakwambia imeturamba. So ukimuuliza, she's like, but siwezi mwambia. Unajua nikimwambia inaweza hurt relationship yetu, marriage yetu. But you find a woman has stayed in a relationship for 5 years. But she has never experienced that, you know. So I know, but it's true. This thing is true. So you'll find women are never actually sexually satisfied, but it's because they cannot communicate.
So in that regard, CJ, there are two things here. One is...
you all wake me up this morning.
Welcome, CJ. Welcome to CJ's Court. CJ's Court 2.0. Why would it be? Because again, like I said, he has taken enough time to do research. So he has the facts. He could present the facts. He's, even told Bobby it is this and this and this. So he's taken time to research about his problem. But is it also research about his wife that is like, hey, una nikimwambia hivi namjua, it will go this way. Like, what's if he's taken that much time to invest in knowing what the problem is, why does he then communicate what the problem is?
You know, there are several dynamics to that, because when you begin relating with somebody, the first thing you want to show them is your strong side. So the first impressions that we create sometimes become the very soft heels that we will carry through a relationship, because if I first showed you that I was strong, I was all together, I was fine, how do I bring in the elements of weakness into that relationship? At what point do I change from being this person who has everything everything under wrap to the person who has things that they are struggling with?
Right.
So moving that conversation is not the easiest thing. Because mostly it is said, you don't get a second chance
at a first impression.
Right. And you want that to last. So you probably will have carried that for about 2 to 3 years within the relationship before you get to the place where you feel, well, I now need to begin bringing up some stuff because the burden will be heavy. So the first challenge is normally how you first met and what you brought to the table. If weaknesses were not brought to the table, and if the chance to talk about those struggles and weaknesses were not brought to the table, switching that conversation might become very difficult. But even with the thing that QT is talking about, the ladies not being able to communicate because they don't want to injure the ego of the man, sometimes they also are afraid that the man will become insecure and ask, so where did you learn that? Whom have you been doing that with? How did you know that? So she's also trying to protect her image because she doesn't want to be questioned. And that happens. That happens. Somebody will be wondering, so these things you're telling me to do, where have you been doing this?
Right.
Whom are you comparing me with? So there are a lot of issues that make people hold back because nobody wants to be judged. And you see, we grew up knowing that this is wrong. And then you get into a relationship and suddenly, you know, lights, camera, action. Now it's right. So you're still dealing with the stigmas in your head and in your mind. This is taboo. This was not even supposed to be spoken about. And then you're now the two of you. And how do you get into these conversations that were never conversations anywhere else? So there are all these things that challenge the element of how free we can become in these matters. For the gentleman, you see, he will probably also have been hearing stories from other people about what the ideal situation should be. And sometimes, which is why, you know, Roberta was bringing up the element of pornography, sometimes where you get information from will determine whether you will feel that you are doing well or not. Because you could be measuring yourself to things that are not realistic. You could be measuring yourself to standards that are very manipulated, you know, and so you keep on feeling like for it to be good, it has to be like that. But then you do not understand the dynamics around what you feel is like that. Then you begin to feel just by yourself like you're inadequate, and you carry that energy into this space. When you do, see, when you walk the tightrope, the people who walk the tightrope, it is said if you look down, you will fall. Once somebody has performance in their mind, Willis, they will most probably fail. If they go in, for example, for pleasure, and I'm not doing therapy, I'm just saying. If you go in there for pleasure and to probably discover your partner and you're there for fun, you most probably will grow in it. But if you are in there because performance, I need to get here, did you get there, and you do all of that, it begins to affect your mind. Because intimacy is also a mental thing. It's not just physical. The emotions are involved, the mental thing. And once the mind switches just a little bit like this, it's gone. So some of the people, their struggles are more mental than they actually are physical. All of the things that he said and he found out may be true, but then maybe now that is getting into his head. So every day he wants to measure himself to something. This is not a gym where you will say today I'm going to lift 50 kgs and then tomorrow I'm pushing myself to this. This depends on somebody else's response and reaction and stuff. So the thing is that people probably within that kind of a relationship need to lower expectations of each other. And say, look, we're in this thing for the long haul. We're discovering each other. And there's going to be a journey. So that then makes it easier to communicate, like you were saying. Like you have the fun around it. And communicate. Say, we're discovering this. We don't know. Even if you've been with somebody else before, you've never been with this one before. So they need to really lower their expectations. When they do that, then through the journey, somewhere they just realize, oh my goodness, Vasco da Gama discovered.
Well, here's the question of the day. And today is one of those days when I will encourage you to use our SMS platform, because that way you remain anonymous, unless you just feel bold enough to share. In the SMS platform, we won't reveal your name or your number. You don't have to say where you're watching from or what your name is. But again, feel free. Here's the question. What is a shameful secret that you could be scared to share with your partner, and why? What is a shameful secret that you could be scared to share with your partner, and why? The SMS platform is 22422. That's the number to text us on. The hashtag on Daybreak, on Twitter is Daybreak. But again, I always issue this warning. Unless you're using a pseudo account, tutajua wewe ni nani. But on SMS, you can go ahead and text and tell us, and no one will know. No one will know. Yeah, that's just that's just how it is. Roberta Sija has mentioned something in terms of communicating as well, but he's also mentioned something in terms of in the communication. Before, this was not a welcome idea. And I think I don't know about now my son moving forward will probably create a better environment for him to talk about some of these things than my daughter, but growing up, most of us here, you weren't going to tell your mama, so I just had my first kiss, woohoo! Today is the day, mama. Today is the day that I'm going to.
Oh man.
Yeah, there was no environment to talk about it. It was taboo. It was frowned upon. So how do you to now? Okay, sasa vile QT amesema enyewe tuongee juu hii kitu. How do you move? And I think that's probably, I don't know, your friend also in our generation.
Yeah.
How do you move from a place where you never used to talk about this thing?
Yeah.
It was taboo even to say the word sex.
Yeah.
And now here you are.
Even now, just before the show, we were Cutie was like,
like, so what do we say? Do we say bedroom matters? Do we say sex?
Yeah. And I absolutely love your question because it's about two things that I really, really advocate for. And this is why I started Love and Orgasms, so that we can have these conversations very, very boldly. Because hata mimi nilizaliwa generation yenye, even when I was about 20 years old, that's 7 years ago, when I was doing my blog and it was, you know, people were reading it and starting to find out about it, most of the comments I used to get, even when I was trying to get like sponsorships or to be in ads or stuff like that, was, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. First of all, you're young. What do you know about sex issues? Or what experience do you have? Or why do you talk about such things so openly? Because hizi ni conversations za chini ya maji. But mimi, kwetu pia mi sikuzaliwa kwa space yenye nilikuwa naweza kuhave hizi conversations. I just created the space for myself because I realized there was so many things I was doing or seeing or involved in or
a lot
trying
of
out.
information.
Yeah, that alafu hata hatukuwa na masimu, so aungeenda ati Google ati what's this.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Ati
that's another thing.
Yeah, so if you needed information, it was from your friends who tried things before you.
Exaggerating.
Yeah, and they lied.
A lot, yeah.
Hata saa ingine hawajatry hizi vitu, wamezi watch tu kwa porno. And that's how, unfortunately, most of us learned about sex, our first experiences or things like that. It used to be about the conversations we had with our peers, but never, no one would ever go to their mom and be like, yo, mom, you know, this is what I'm going through or this is what I want. And that's why I created this space where people can feel safe, not just coming to me, but safe in themselves that this is something that's natural, this is something that's very normal, it's very human. These are conversations we need to have. The way we talk about finances, sex is also a very integral part of life. It's not something that's separate, ama kitu kuna watu wafanyangi, ama it's something that is very, very natural and very biological. So these are, the more we have these conversations easily, the more it is to seek help, the more it is easier to get tested, the easier it is to have such conversations even with your partner. Things like, umetest for HIV lini, haifai kukua ati, mbona umeniuliza? It's supposed to be, oh wow, si gender this year, si tuende next week. You know, something like that. If it's not taboo anymore, and you know, if someone asks you to get tested,
you'll be like,
get defensive.
What do you mean?
Yeah, like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
even sometimes when you bring up the story for, let's use condoms, or, you know, condoms, msako kwani uni trust. Si ati siku trust, ni juu niko na enough information to be able to make more informed decisions. And I'd like for you to feel comfortable enough to have these conversations with me. So that's why I started Love and Orgasms, so that we can have a very, very safe, so that watu wakiona, oh, dem anaongea hizi vitu, it's easy. It means anyone can do it. Si ati mimi nilizaliwa nikiongea hizi vitu. Hizi ni vitu ni
far from it.
Yeah, hizi ni vitu nimelearn along the way. And it's just because I take away the shame from it. And I try to have the conversations as humane as possible so that it's easy for people to understand. Second is communication. You know, I normally say communication, until then I realized it's not easy. Yeah. This communication thing is not easy. It's so easy to say, you know, just tell him, just tell her, like she's your, it's not easy. Coming from me, once I was in this situation, Jana, I realized I had started being passive aggressive. You know, when the good thing with being aware is you can notice your moods. You know when you're not happy, when you're annoyed at something. So I started doing some introspection and I realized something had pissed me off. And instead of just speaking on it and telling the person, yo, I did not really realize nikaanza kumtext weird. Ama
Okay.
Yeah, and this is when I held back, I was like, oh, you know. Then I remember this person had told me if I feel some type of way, I should feel safe enough to just let them know. And what I did was I drafted a quick text to just say, I'm sorry about how I was acting. This is how I feel about this. Nini na nivo. Na yaka apologize. Na mini ended up feeling. So I realized that we keep pushing for communication, but I also want to acknowledge that it's not as easy as it seems. Coming from the person who's supposed to communicate and the person who's supposed to receive the communication, it's not easy. But this is why we have to keep practicing. I keep saying there's hakuna mtu mwenye amezaliwa na information yote. We learn every day. We learn new things all the time. So it's just a practice thing. It's a habit thing. You have to intentionally want the relationship to work out. You have to realize that, first of all, when you're speaking out or when someone comes to you to speak out, this is something CJ said last week, it's because they like you. It's because they love you and they want to fix things.
Wamepitia ndo wafike hapo wamepitia, they're like, "Hey man, I'm also feeling a certain type of way." So yeah.
And it's very difficult for someone to just come up to you and say, "Oh cutie, I didn't appreciate the way." It's difficult because I've thought, is it going to mess up our friendship? Are you going to get pissed off? Will it, I've done something wrong? Is it, all these things. But having the courage and the deliberation, it makes you so much confident to be able to have these conversations. And remember, I'm acknowledging that it's not easy, but you have to do it. So to answer your question, Willis, I'd say that these things are a habit thing that we have to indulge in very, very intentionally.
Right.
You have to be very, very deliberate. Like you have to say, yo, I want my relationship with my wife to get better, and this is where we're at. I feel like this, and I can feel like she's withdrawing. I know why. It's just that I'm ashamed, or it's a secret, or I want to get it fixed before I can bring it to her. But I'd like to paint a scenario for you where imagine whereby maybe you just don't know because you haven't tried to tell her yet. But what if she's also been noticing and she just needs that communication, and she's been trying to cultivate a space where it feels very, very safe for you to come to her? What if that's the case? Because most times our brains wenda tu kwa
and maybe anakuachia cues. Anakwambia, I like, or, I was watching CJ the other day. And he said that, communication is, and I think we should embrace that. Anakuachia some cues to kind of lay the foundation.
Willis, please. Don't let them mention me
in this conversation.
They're already having insecurity issues. Listen, one of the worst things to do to a man when he's battling with self-esteem is to mention
another man.
CJ.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Especially the sage. Nasema CJ. Si bazoenda kwake. Yeah.
Ama umeona CJ wapi? Naongeanga. But it's just that, let's be very intentional about all the relationships that we're in, and let's grow together. Venye CJ amesema, it's a journey. We're learning each other every day. Now, uki go into these relationships na hiyo mindset ya
growth,
ya performance, ati nika unataka kushow unaweza fanya hii ama hivi ndo unaweza fanya, it takes away the vulnerability and the realness, and then you feel like you have to show up strong, amazing, very, very perfect. But that's not how it is. Something else I'm learning is that sometimes in a relationship, in any relationship, you just have 20. And it's up to the other person to come with 80 and cover you. And sometimes it's 50-50. Sometimes it's 90-10. It's not every day that you guys are at an equal spot. Sometimes you just want to be sad and cry. And instead of them catching an attitude as well, it would be nice if they came with, kuku. It's a nijaze ni kujaze. It's very complimentary. So it's just deliberation. Ni ngumu. Hata mimi mwenyewe na struggle na mimi ushinda yapi hapa. Communication. But okay, try. The consequences, you start to see, oh, that's all I needed to do.
All right.
Yeah.
Cutie, what do you think in terms of, we've talked about, since you learned from CJ, let's see what you do. Creating that space. Do you think that, especially for
CJ,
especially for men, do you think that, or rather even for, if you know that there is something that, like for example in her case, and if your friend is watching, we're just using an example, that's what we have, and I hope you're learning as well. But in that case, where one partner, the things I'm doing, things I'm going through, my partner has started withdrawing. So do you think in the move to create a safe space, and this can be either the husband or the wife, the male or the female, what are some of the things they can do? Like subtle hints like, okay, hello, it's safe over here. You can tell me. Yeah.
Willis, you know, you have to be the bold one, because if you don't ask, if your wife is withdrawing and you're not asking, then she's going to withdraw and she won't talk to you. She won't tell you what the problem is. And women, we're good with these things. Like, tunaweza kaa, nimekwambia 5 years, unapata dema je experience, but atatulia tu. Atanyamaza juu anakupenda, anasema mimi yenyewe napenda huyo mse. So let me just stick with him, because it's true, yeah.
An election.
But nowadays, but nowadays,
Thank
I
God
think...
you didn't shrub.
Yeah, well,
That's what I wanted to say.
well.
If you said something else, it would mean something.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
CJ.
All right.
But it does make sense.
It would make sense. Yes.
But honestly, the younger lady or the younger woman will not communicate with this. But when you get to 30, what I believe, when you get to in your 30s, you start communicating more, you start talking more.
So because I think you've grown probably.
You've grown, actually, because at Mimi, I can say, like, in my 20s, I never used to communicate, I never used to talk. I used to be there, like, what is happening? You know, you're trying to also understand yourself, like, what just happened? By the way, you know, you don't even understand yourself, what is happening to you, and also what is supposed to happen around you, you know. Like Roberta said, we are learning. It's a learning process. So when you're older as a woman, you start communicating. Personally, nowadays, I communicate in everything, not just, yeah, man. But I find myself communicating. I'm very expressive. Like, I talk about everything. Kama kitu janibamba. And also, if you feel like your partner is a person who doesn't like being not really confront, but apendi kuambiwa vitu. You know, there are those people, they don't like speaking about issues. They like sweeping issues under the rug and be like, mi sitaki kuongelelea hiyo story, si tuko tu sawa, you know. There are those people who tell you, si tuko tu sawa babe, si mimi nakupenda na unanipenda, you know. There are people who talk like that. But you have to be the bolder and the bigger person, and you have to sit them down. Umwambie cheki, I know you don't like talking about these things. I know you don't like ABCD, but here's the situation. This thing is really affecting us. It's affecting me. You get. And even for the man, you have to open up to your spouse and tell them, by the way, I know easily sensitive issues, people don't talk about them, but I want us to be the first to talk about them. Unajua, because these things, Willis, they're affecting people so much. If you sit down, I don't know if you guys, the men talk about it, but women, we talk about it every day. And then unaambia mse, we siwende umshow, sasa mbona unatuambia, you know, like, it's not helping us. If you talk to me, if Roberta tells me something about her relationship, yes, it's okay, a problem shared is a problem solved. But at the end of the day, she needs to face the man that she's with, you know. Like she said about all those, even those family planning things and all of that, you know. You know, those things affect women so much. But the man is like, hey, well, you take care of it, you know. You know, such things affect relationships so much. Hizo vitu inamsumbua. But now you see, wewe staki hiyo maneno. And you see, vitu kama hizi ndio tunasema ni shameful, unaogopa kusema. Hizi ni secrets zenye you can be like, by the way, I can't tell him, I'm not okay, I'm not safe, and I can't use this because of this. This method doesn't work. Actually, tell him to take you to the doctor. You see, if you have that courage and tell him, by the way, take me to the doctor because of ABCD, because of that problem that you said. You told me to take care of it, but I want us to take care of it, the two of us. So go to the doctor together so that he can hear those consequences. When the doctor is speaking, he'll be like, oh my God, you have to go through that. No, then you don't have to go through that. Unajua. But ukiamua kunyamazia vitu Willis, at the end of the day, when utaumia, because you, maboyo wanakuanga zile za, you take care of it. Me, chali ajalie maisha yake, unajua inaendelea vile inaendelea. So when unabaki na hizo ngori zote, what am I going to do? Roberta kama niambie niko na ngori. So I'm like, talk to him, because if you tell me yes, ndakupea advice roundy, what about the next time and the next time and the next time? So easy secret and bedroom matters and all that, just be the bigger person, talk to your person, just be open about it, and you'll see it will work magic. By the way, it works magic. But ukinyamazia utakuwa hapo 5 years later ukiumia. Unajua CJ anasikia 5 years anashinda 5 years.
CJ probably amesikia, you know, a lot more. He is a reservoir. All right, let's take a look at some of the SMSs and what y'all are saying on SMS. The question was, what is shameful? Hiyo nani nimeshrab. Shameful secret. Kama mnaweza nirushia hapa nyuma yangu ama somewhere. This is Kevin from Mombasa. There is a thing that disturbs me a lot. My woman has developed some scent that I don't really... Okay, I can't read it from there. Thank you. All right. There is this thing that disturbs me a lot. My woman has developed some sense that I don't really... Siski vizuri. Oga well with. Oga well with. Ever since she gave birth, yani sielewi na pia naogopa kumweleza because the last time I tried, she almost skinned me alive. Anyway, bado niko Sweden in preparation for the men's conference scheduled later this year. All right, that's one. My hubby ni mtu wa kamoja. Sijui orgasm ni nini. Naogopa kumwambia I'm suffering alone. All right? What Cutie was saying. My wife is not active in the bedroom affairs reception. When I come from work, food is not a problem, but she gets angry at any woman who says hi to me or comes to my place of work. I am a tailor. Jameni kama ni tailor. Lazima watakuja. And women are my biggest clients. She threatens leaving. It's exhausting. So there is the threat in that one. Also, ladies should stop discussing sex issues after chama. Because Willis, you understand this thing of, my husband does it well, my wife does it well. Then the question is how? Then practical. And Roberta mentioned this as well because some of the stories sometimes are exaggerated because mtu anajaribu kuoutshine the other. It depends on how one starts the communication. If you bring it in as a complaint, it will bring a big problem. Men don't like it when they are complained to. Is it right for your partner to open up that he has slept with another woman? Is that love? Is that the last one? I guess sorry. I'm into food fetish na kila day I open up to things of me as a freak. Na nimekuwa hivyo since childhood. But after growing up, nikajua I'm normal, nikajikubali. All right? Easy. All right. My man is, one-round man. The sex is always painful. Have gone for medical checkups. There's no change. This prompts me to cheat on him and realize a difference. On the other side, I feel like something is wrong with him, but I can't open up to him because it sounds like comparing him. Because clearly there's a comparison. And I'm really struggling in this relationship because sometimes we just meet once a month and we're living together. Help. There's also the medical aspect and Anyway, we'll talk about that. I love this discussion. My shameful secret is imagining another woman when I'm making love to my wife just for me to last longer. I agree with you, CJ, that when you go to perform, you don't make it. Quite sad. So there is that. Again, it goes to the conversation you're having, CJ. There is so much information around. And it's actually, the problem is, one, it's exaggerated. 2, it's manipulated. 3, it's acted. 4, they are getting paid to do it. So people refer to all these things and they feel like this is the standard. This is what we used to call back in school the SI unit. And there's a problem. You've seen, I think there are 3 or 4 people who have mentioned, one has even said that it's painful. That probably needs to another conversation because maybe there's a medical thing. But what do some of these people do, especially those who they're saying they get it from other places, or Willis, what was engaged mambo kwa chama? What do they do? What's the right way to go about it?
Well, it's really difficult. See, one of the things with boys, for example, when boys are growing up, they begin to compare themselves to their organs,
right? For
some reason, size, stuff like that. And at that level, I think they need to really be taught how to be confident apart from the organs, that you are bringing more to life and the table than just your inches. Because as we keep on growing, you brought up the issue of information.
Right.
See, when information is coming from everywhere, if you don't verify, if you do not get the actual information, then you will just be lost in this whole sea. So I think the first part is for us to actually sieve and sift the information and get people to get the right information about different things. That would start with the younger boys as they're growing up, and even for the men. The reason I say that you and your partner have got to communicate is because I cannot use the data from Roberta on QT. These are human beings. These are not machines. These are human beings. So that as much as there's general information, you're dealing with a specific person. And for you to have a specific connection, you have to learn this person at an individual level. So the information needs to come from here, not the general. If we don't...
So here means the both of you.
The both of you.
Right.
The both of you have to talk about it. Because, you see, even the person who's talking about one side is painful, they're saying they're enjoying something somewhere else. So is it really biological? Is it really medical? Because if they were having pain everywhere, then we would say maybe it's a medical thing. But why is it that it hurts somewhere else and it doesn't hurt somewhere else?
And then there's definitely now the comparison.
Yes, because one person has understood this person, the other person has not. So it comes back to the thing of the two of you. How much information do you have about each other? Your bodies, your physiology, your stage, your mental state at that particular point, the issues that you're dealing with. You may be dealing with your partner who's dealing with stress from their family at that time. They have a sick relative, a sick mother, and all of that. And so things are not working for you at that particular point. Then you decide, you know what, this is not working, let me find somebody else. Then you hurt them because they feel you actually walked out on them when they were dealing with something else and you were saying, I can't wait on you. Then it becomes a whole vicious cycle.
Right.
People have to spend time with the people they are in. It is intimacy, Willis. Get information from this person. Somebody else will want all kinds of drama around it. Somebody else just wants to remain in the Bible, be a missionary.
Right.
And they're just fine right there.
Yes.
And you cannot, it depends on where they're coming from. I had a conversation one time with this gentleman and his wife, and he was complaining. He was complaining about their lack of intimacy and stuff. And I asked the lady, because sometimes it's also a background issue. If you're dealing with somebody who has been raised in a very conservative background, then you are with them, you're not going to expect them overnight to become somebody else. Wherever you want to go, you'll have to keep talking with them and getting them comfortable and seeing how they're trying. So if you use information from somewhere else, you can't bring that information to them or expect them to get there. And you cannot say that they are probably denying you or they have an issue with you. The battle is internal. For some of the men, probably they have had people before who talked them down. Then they come into this space. So anything you do, any little thing, you may not have said anything, but any little thing just begins to trigger that, the insecurities that they have. So they don't know how to communicate that. So how do we get into the place of communication? Constant dating of partners. Move away from this environment that has pressure. Sit at a restaurant. And please, you don't have to drink so that you'll say, I say it.
So that I talk with my chest. Yes.
Speak it when you're sober, so that this person knows you're intentional. It's not something that you will try to blame on the alcohol and say, no, I think I took too much. No, serious conversation, serious stuff. Speak it. Different places. Agree on going into different environments and working out your relationships. Agree that you may, or one of you, or both of you may need help. Talk about your traumas, because probably it is things that have happened to somebody that are causing them not to be able to rise to the occasion. Talk about those things. Talk about sometimes maybe what even the other person has done to you, or how probably they talk to you or they treat you that then makes you feel a certain way that you don't look forward to this. Just bring up conversations. But I want to address something that came up about the gentleman who talked about the wife has a scent since she gave birth. It would be unfair to victimize that woman for that scent. She didn't put it on herself. In a case like that, seek medical attention for her. There's a lady who's a friend of mine, and I think she's been on Citizen quite a number of times. She's got this thing that they call dealing with fistula. It could be. And it's a very shameful thing that she talks about, how she would be passing stool after she had given birth because some membranes would be torn. So there's no differentiation between the private part and, so the stool and whatever just gets mixed up. Now, that's not this person's fault. When this person has a medical condition, you don't blame them for it. You try and find a way to fix it. And one of the ways may be find a doctor, talk to the doctor before, and then bring your partner along, say, let's go for a regular checkup. Don't tell them it's about them, because maybe they don't know. Right. Then just set it up with the doctor and say, we're going for a regular checkup. And when you get to the other side, let the doctor then reveal that to them so that they feel they get it from the doctor. But you've got to find a way to help this person because, see, if somebody is going through something after pregnancy, who is responsible for that pregnancy?
Both of you.
Yeah. So you cannot blame them for being there. So I think it's again how we carry this communication. But my main thing today, I will say, be careful about where you get information from.
Yes.
Because it can really mess you up.
Yeah.
It can really mess. You'll be with men who are telling you, man, me, I'm a six-cylinder
V6, double, triple charge engine.
And it's not true.
Yeah.
You meet their wife in the chama. So you will be having all these issues in your head.
It's true, by the way.
I said my wife kwa chama na boy kwa bar.
I know. You do different.
All right. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, out of time. It's 9 o'clock. We're gonna end there, but like CJ said, be careful where you get your information from. The good thing I like about this is that it was brought up by somebody actually reaching out. So in one way, shape, or form, you actually want help, and that's where it starts. Yeah. That you reach out and you seek for help, and that's good, especially for you, since it was your friend Roberta. You know, you can start with your friend. You're like, yo, you any girl child, look it in you know, because that's also one way, somewhere safe that you can, where you get your information from. I'll repeat, for those of you who maybe are addicted to stuff like porn, number one, it is manipulated, exaggerated, and guess what? They are paid to do it. So they have to. So be careful where you get your information. And once you get your information, face yourself, face your partner. Mungu awabariki sana.